So one of the things I'd like to talk about pretty often on this show is income inequality. Now, it's not just a huge income inequality in America, but around the world. Now, recently, of course, I did a report from Oxfam that pointed out the fact that just 85 people own more wealth than 3.5 billion people worldwide. That's insane. Now, one of the questions I tend to think of when I see studies and reports like that is that why people actually would think that this is okay. I wonder why our politicians and pundits on TV don't really bat much of an eye when it comes to this kind of problem, because it is a problem. And when people who have an obscene amount of wealth tend to get really defensive at just even the thought of contributing, say, a higher tax rate or just a slightly higher percentage of their wealth towards actually feeding people who aren't as fortunate as they are. After all, rich people, when paying a slightly higher percentage in taxes, would still be rich. Maybe not obscenely, awesomely rich, but still pretty fucking rich. Now, they would still live opulent, incredibly comfortable lives. Now, some people say that they deserve those lives, and I'm not going to disagree with that. If you're successful, you actually do deserve to live well on the fruits of your success. I have no issue with that. None. I think that if you're, smarter and you do, make a good product and you actually, do what you're supposed to do to make your customers happy and to deliver, you deserve to be wealthy. That's the American dream. And that should be what capitalism is all about. That's the kind of capitalism I believe in. You work hard, you get rewarded. That said, there's something that I don't understand. If you work hard, you should be able to make a good living. But what I don't understand about our current system is the idea that somehow workers, those that do hard labor, unskilled labor, the ones who are out on front, don't deserve to live with dignity and decency as well on the fruits of their success or the fruits of their labor. And why they can't some of them can't even make a living at all. Now let's remember that Americans are more productive than they've ever been before. I mean, look at that. Americans are much more productive, 254.3%. Look at that. That's you guys. You did that. You built that, America. Look at that. But look at the bottom. Hourly compensation has stagnated. Ever since the 1970s. Stagnated. Workers are not getting paid for their productivity. And that just ain't right. Americans are doing really, really well, though. Remarkably well. A mix of hard work and technological innovation, allowing people to work harder, smarter, and better. These people are working hard, man. More productive than anything, than they've ever been. So why doesn't employee pay reflect that? Why is it that we have a minimum wage that's still the equivalent of the wage in 1968? Well, we all know that the standard of living has increased dramatically since 1968. Why are we still allowing that to happen? You know what I think? I think that not paying your employees for their productivity, that's wage theft. And the theft of taxpayer money, who then actually have to take up the burden of feeding and housing those people that work but can't afford to live off their earnings. If you work full time, you should not be in poverty. There is no excuse for that. That money was stolen from the workers. And where did it go? Well, it went to executive bonuses. It didn't go into creating more jobs. We don't have more jobs than we had before. We have less jobs. Didn't go into taxes. We have a record debt and deficit, mostly because of tax cuts. So where did it go? Well, it went into CEO pockets. It didn't go back to the American people. It didn't go back to the people that worked for it. That's wage theft. That is theft. And look, talking about executive bonuses. Well, a lot of these bonuses are incredibly obscene, even by our standards. Look at that. Look at that executive income. Now, to be fair, it has been higher. And that's not even to the levels it is right now. This only goes up to 2005. I imagine it's much, much higher than it is now. Did you know that average CEO compensation compared to the worker is averaged at around 475 to 1? Why is it so high? CEOs aren't that much more qualified. Do they work 475 times harder than other workers? They might work hard. They might have more skills, but 475 times more skills? I don't buy it. I don't think so at all. Or is there something else? Some sort of reason why those who are already fabulously wealthy want to get even wealthier? Well, there's a survey actually done by UBS Investor that Investor Watch, that asked the question, well, what is wealthy? We love to throw around that term, right? Oh, the wealthy, the 1%, the richest, whatever. Well, what is wealthy? Well, in this study, UBS had actually asked, well, do you consider yourself wealthy? Talking to wealthy individuals. Now, of those with investable assets worth $1 million to $5 million, only 28% answered yes to that question. Do you consider yourself wealthy? Only 28% of respondents making between $1 and $5 million in investable assets think that they're wealthy. Okay, well, look. Maybe you can cut them a little bit of slack since they live in New York and California. New York, LA, very expensive places to live. Okay, I understand. Housing prices can get rather expensive in the really, really nice place, the Upper West Side or Upper East Side, or I don't know. I don't know where wealthy people live. But I'm pretty sure that, a house in one of those areas could be about around $1 million. But still, compared to the average income of the average family in America, which is about $39,000 a year, $1 to $5 million is wealthy. And the Social Security Administration actually said that, states that more than half of wage earners make less than $30,000 a year. That comes to about 81 million people that make less than $30,000 a year. That's a lot of people. Now, of course, not everyone can be a millionaire. Not everyone can be fabulously wealthy. I get that. Nor should they be able to. Not everybody can be wealthy, super wealthy. But making less than $30,000 a year in a time when Americans are the most productive they've ever been, and corporations and the wealthy and the richest among us, the top 1%, being the wealthiest they've ever been? I mean, come on. This leads me to another reason. Well, wealthy people, I think, some of them are addicts. And money is their drug. Let me explain. There's a good reflection of this in a op-ed written by a man named Sam Polk. Now, Sam had worked on Wall Street and had received a $3.6 million bonus for 2013. Now, he's my age, 30 years old, no kids, no debts, really good job working on Wall Street. But his bonus? He was angry. He was angry at that $3.6 million bonus. Not because it was too much. Not because he knew that while he received such a huge bonus, there were actually people starving. No, he was angry because it was too small. Too small. Now, one of his goals was to make $1 billion. To become a billionaire. Okay, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to make a lot of money. But still, $1 billion for one person. Now, he had written Quote, it's staggering to think that in the course of 5 years, I'd gone from being thrilled at my first bonus of $40,000. Now remember, that's a quarterly bonus. Either it's a quarterly or a yearly bonus. That is larger than more than half of what Americans make per year. That is over what the average American family makes per year. $40,000. To being disappointed when my second year at the hedge fund, I was paid only $1.5 million. Only. It seems like an addiction. And just like an addict, people with wealth addiction will actually do anything to get another fix. Now, Polk explains that in a meeting with his bosses, and they were talking about hedge fund regulations, which, of course, people on Wall Street thought were a horrible idea. Oh, my God, don't regulate us. We promise we won't crash the entire financial system, except that we don't promise. Please don't regulate us. Well, we're going to regulate them anyway with Dodd-Frank. So they were talking about how terrible these regulations were and how much of a bad idea. And Sam had asked him, well, isn't this better for the system as a whole? I mean, we got a little crazy here in 2008, caused the entire economy to crash. Maybe this is better. Now, from the article, he wrote, the room went quiet, and my boss shot me a withering look. I don't have the brain capacity to think about the system as a whole. All I'm concerned with is how this affects our company. Now, that's not something that you want to hear when there's an institution that is literally too big to fail. And that's the problem. Making money isn't the problem. It's becoming addicted to that money. That's the problem. So much so that you don't care how much you could possibly hurt the system or how many lives that you can destroy in the pursuit of making more money. And look, once this guy walked away from Wall Street, away from that bubble of millionaires and billionaires, he actually figured it out. I see Wall Street's mantra. We're smarter and work harder than everyone else, so we deserve all this money. For what it is, the rationalization of addicts.